It's like a pencil in a canvas. I'm at the ATM, I'm with money at the moment. Yeah. Like college stadiums, the bands keep on rolling in. They like the merch like a clerk, thank you, come again. Yeah. Our team won, hedging funds, we having fun again. Cash, quarters, fast, money, big skills, bills, money, on the big money, money, big money, yeah, we stay money.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Athletic Money. I'm your co-host, Jamil Darrell, and you already know your host, OG Tone. Today, we got a very special episode. We like to talk about money, finance, business, investing, all those things on the podcast, and we like to keep it athletic. And we have a guest that exemplifies and checks all those boxes. And today, we have Gibran, a.k.a. Gibby. He is creative design, but he's far more than that. He's had his own movie, own fashion brand, former NFL Europe MVP, former NFL starting quarterback at one point as well. He just does it all. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here with it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So
Where start off, Tom?
where are you located right now? Where are you at?
I'm in Cali right now. I'm in California. So my family and I, we actually just did a world trip. We did like 27 countries in 10 months. We got back, we landed in DC, and the kids and the wife were like, "All right, what are we doing now?" So
Yeah,
I
I
just
saw that as
flew,
well.
I flew out to the West Coast and just started driving, trying to find a place to live. And we ended up in Cali, signed a 1-year lease, and then see what happens. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, a lot of people think it's like, you have to own a home, you have to plant somewhere, and like sometimes it's just about living your rich life, doing what if you're traveling, you have business in East Coast, West Coast. Sometimes it's just all about living your rich life and doing what you love to do, and it seems like that's what you do, and that's something I definitely respect.
yeah, I think it's an interesting comment, and within that rich life, I think you have to create the system for you then to have that kind of lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that's a part that a lot of people miss is they'll just be like, I want this life. And then it's like, yeah, but the system's not really there for you to then have it, right? And it's no different
Correct.
than like when an offensive coordinator, defensive, you can't be like, yo, I wanted to run the triple option, and you got Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. Like yeah, that system don't
Yeah,
match up, right? So
exactly.
it's really about like before we took the road trip, it's about we've homeschooled our kids since birth, just because we knew that system would suit us better to keep my wife and I happy and free and open into the things we want to do in our lives and not getting tied down to a certain thing. And so our kids got used to that. And then, that then affords us the opportunity when COVID's ending to just be like, yo, let's just go on a world trip. Let's show them the world. And there's no like, we got to take the kids out of school and we got to do all
Yeah,
this stuff. So, but that all takes a lot of premeditated thought and intention, right?
yeah,
Because it's hard to
100%.
pivot. It's so hard to pivot.
It is. No, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, talking about your family, talking about who you are, I definitely want to dive in, you know, into the foundation of you, you do a great job displaying what you do, how you do it, who you are. But I want to start off by diving into things, like I said, that contribute to your foundation, who makes Gibran Gibby, Gibby. And, your mother was from Pakistan, father of Palestinian descent. You were born in San Diego, moved to Kuwait. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So far, so good.
When you were 3 years old, then end up coming back to the U.S., settled in Potomac, Maryland. Amazing story. Can you, tell us what your upbringing was like? Also describe your journey from being, born in San Diego to ending up, in Potomac, Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. I'm a first generation. My parents, are from other places, and we settled in San Diego. lived there till I was 3, moved to Kuwait. Dad got a good job running an engineering firm there in Kuwait. And I kind of grew up in Kuwait from ages 3 to 9. Um, I actually went to American school there.
Wow.
So my dad has like a thick accent from learning English as a second language. And like he felt like that had stalled his career a bit. So when I was born, he was like, yo, you're going to learn English, 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 English. So I went to American schools, hung out with like American kids in Kuwait, but then, kind of showed a propensity for art, but also for sports. Played a lot of baseball in Kuwait, actually, because the Japanese immigrants that had moved there had basically introduced baseball to Kuwait and
Nice.
started the Kuwait Little League. And
Wow.
actually, like, I grew up playing baseball, like bowing to umpires and like,
That's insane.
hitting for average, which comes in later. I was like,
Yeah.
no home runs, just hit for average, played real good defense. And we would just vacation every year back to San Diego,
Yeah.
just for vacation. And then that one year we vacationed, and while we were on vacation, Saddam Hussein invades Kuwait,
Wow.
and we're
Yeah.
on vacation.
I saw that.
And the first Gulf War happened, so it's like, all right, we're not going back.
Wow.
It took the house and took the money, and so we're all just looking at each other like, okay, I guess we're staying in the States.
Yeah.
And we stayed in San Diego for like about a year or so, and then we moved to Maryland because my dad started working for the government, and that's how we got there.
Wow.
That's awesome. Where did
It's great.
where did football come into play? When did you start? How did that journey begin?
Oh, senior year of high school.
Wow.
Senior year of high school. I was a baseball guy, so what happened when we get to Maryland, I've been playing this Kuwaiti baseball little league. Right? And I'm like, I think I'm pretty good at this, but my dad didn't know jack, like nobody knew anything about sports. And I'll never forget it. We go to we get to Olney, Maryland, of all places, and like the Olney Little League has like a tryout for one of their, back in the day traveling teams.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, we should probably go to that. You're not good enough for it, but like, we should just start with that, and then we can put you in the regular league, right? But
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be. I was following baseball, Sandy Alomar, Roberto Alomar, but I mean, honestly, at that stage, I wasn't even in America. Like we were getting like Michael Jackson was like hot in the streets in Kuwait, and Michael Jackson was like 5 years old here, so I was like behind the curve. I was that weird kid.
That's interesting.
And, it's crazy. So we go to that tryout. And this coach was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm Gibran, whatever." He's like, "You're on the select team, first practice." Because I could just throw. Like, I mean, for a young kid,
they saw some traits early.
Yeah, they saw the traits early, and so I just played baseball. I was a baseball fanatic. Like all I did was baseball, no football. Never played. Didn't even care about it. Didn't know none about it. I think the first time football came into play was I was in 7th or 8th grade in middle school. We had moved we were in Potomac, and some kids had this ball like lunchtime, and they were like throwing around. I was like, "What is that?" And they're like, "Oh, that's a football." I grabbed it and I threw it, and like right off jump, it was like a perfect spiral, and all the kids were like,
they did not expect it.
They did not. No one expected it. And then I literally that lunchtime, you know how big this is. I became permanent QB off of that one throw, and that's the spot to be the permanent QB.
Yeah, that's different.
And then you don't get to be the permanent QB, right? And I was like the least cool, like nobody knew, like, I'm the weird dude, his name, brown skin. But like they were like, "Oh, you the permanent quarterback," because they could then run their deep posts and their go routes and stuff. And
they think they're doing you a favor.
Exactly. So that's kind of how I kind of got into that. Was the first time I kind of learned about it. And I can keep going. I mean, basically, I learned about it, and then I kind of started getting into like Randall Cunningham. I mean, I was just like my guy. Like I saw
was
Randall
an Eagles
Cunningham
fan growing up.
and I was just like, oh, Eagles, the colors, all that stuff. And then and then I got to high school freshman year. Big baseball player. People knew about my baseball skills and stuff. And I was at my first high school. And I went to I was like, yeah, I'm going to try out for this football thing,
Yeah.
And so I think we showed up that, trying out for football in high school, I thought they were going to show up and give me a ball and I could just throw some out routes and they're going to be really
Yes.
excited.
Way
But the first
more
thing you
than
do
that.
is you start on the track
Yeah.
in DC and sticky. And I promise you guys, I had never run a 40 in my life. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even know what like running for a time was.
Exactly. Yeah. The testing and all that.
Bro, they hit the timer and I like basically jogged the 40.
You were just like, yeah, what am
Because
I do? What is the purpose of this?
what is the purpose? I'm here to throw. And I think they clocked me. I mean, it was like a stupid time. I didn't even know what I was doing. And it turns out that the JV coach was also the varsity baseball coach.
Wow.
And I'll never forget it. He was basically like, you'll never amount to anything in football. Shouldn't even play. You should play fall baseball.
Wow.
You are hot garbage.
Wow.
You are the most hot garbage prospect. I mean, you're hot garbage.
Yeah, that's tough. That
literally was football. I started playing baseball there. And yeah, we can get into it. But yeah, that was it.
Yeah, so it seems like, this journey for you obviously wasn't, predetermined, and that was going to be one of my questions. Like, was that always in the cards for you? Like, did you want to, make it as a professional baseball player or like NFL player? Like, this is the goal, and I'm going to do whatever it takes because, you go to Winston Churchill High School.
Where it was saying.
Yeah. So I guess this incident then, you end up transferring after your sophomore year or during your sophomore year to Dennis J. O'Connell High, and then you end up taking over the team starting QB. So it's interesting to know that this came from just throwing a football at recess, and then you end up actually becoming Virginia Independent Player Schools Player of the Year, and then you also obviously you're passionate baseball. You played for the U.S. national team, I think 15 and under. So when did it kind of click to you like, okay, I can do something with this football thing? Like, I know I'm good at baseball. I got an arm, but like, I can do something with this football thing.
Bro, honestly, it never clicked. I don't think it ever clicked, to be honest. But truth is, what happened was so that freshman year, then I get picked to play on this U.S. national team. We go to Japan.
Wow.
I'm one of the top 20, 15 and under baseball players in the nation. And I was going to come back to the same Churchill High School and be like 2 days late for training camp, right?
Yeah.
And I was a nothing player. I didn't even this guy was like, you're never going to announce anything. But I loved like the helmet. I loved the fit, that's why I played, like I love this is cool.
Yeah.
And that coach was basically like, look, if you show up late for training camp, you're not allowed to be on the team.
Wow.
And I was like, bro, I'm going to represent my country. So while I'm gone playing in Japan, we find out this other school that's in VA, that's a long drive for my parents at a private school. We knew the baseball coach there. And we just said, we're leaving this guy. He doesn't have my best interest at heart, this coach. And he's the varsity baseball coach. This is negative energy before that was a thing,
Yeah.
And
you could just feel it.
I could just feel it. I can say it in my. So I transfer. When I get back from Japan, I start making this hour-long drive back and forth to this Bishop O'Connell High School. Play basketball and baseball their junior year. Basically got dunked on by John Day Owens and Keith Bogans all junior year. Because I was like the tallest guy at O'Connell getting dunked on.
Yeah, I did see that. You were starting center.
Center is hot garbage, foul out in the third quarter type stuff. But
that was kind of like me, I'm not going to lie.
Exactly. And played baseball and started baseball after junior year started to pick up. Like I started getting, hey, let's talk about scholarships. Let's talk about things like that. So that whole summer of after junior year, still hadn't played football. I was starting to talk to schools about baseball. Like, hey, we're going to give you a 30% scholarship, 40% scholarship. Because I had developed into 6'3", pretty good first baseman / catcher / pitcher. So I was like, I had a couple scholarships locked in. And the truth is, at O'Connell, quarterback that was there, that was the heir apparent to be the starter the next year, who they had been grooming. His name was Matt McAdams, baller.
Yeah.
But they ran like a run heavy offense, and he like split offense, spread offenses were coming around. So he was like, I'm transferring. You guys aren't running the right kind of offense for me.
I
And
need
he
to put up the
transferred
numbers.
yeah. So he transfers to like McLean. And the coaches are kind of looking around like, well, who's going to play quarterback at this school? Like, we've been grooming this kid.
Yeah.
He will, he was going to be a sophomore and he was going to be the starter. And literally, I kid you not, guys, I was playing football catch during lunch with like my friend.
Yeah.
Like, just, and I would be teaching them how to throw, especially the ladies. I would just be playing catch because
That's
I could
insane.
play catch. Right? You watch me
Yeah.
throw, be like, who is that guy? So the coaches came up to me like, yo, will you please be our quarterback next year? Like, we need you to
That's
play.
wild.
And so, like, I went home, and it basically was like, okay, this is like at the dinner table. It was like, we have some 30-40% scholarships from colleges for baseball.
Yeah.
Are we willing to risk me getting injured or whatever?
Yeah.
Or are we going to let me play football? Which my parents were like, you will never play football as long as we live. Because it was violent and stuff. They would let me try out for the teams, but like it was ever going to be like, yo, you don't get the game. You're not playing.
Yeah.
Because my dad's like an intellectual. Mom was super scared. And then I think just one morning, my mom woke up and she said, I had a dream and you need to go play football.
Wow.
I was like, all right, cool. I called the coach up. And I said, though, the thing I did was, look, like, I'm not risking my baseball career in college for me to hand the ball off 20 times, 30 times a game. So we got to put me in shotgun and I want to throw.
Yeah.
Sure. They were so desperate. I'm like, all right, we go 4 wides.
Yeah.
So my receivers are like Amit Barma and, just like dudes are like, all right, yeah, I'll play receiver. Let's go.
That's
former
amazing.
running back types. And that's basically how the football thing really happened. Is I played those 11 games in high school as a senior.
Yeah.
I threw like way more interceptions and touchdowns.
What?
Like way more. Like but I was legit 6'4". The team we played was like the Maple and Zach, the Council. So all these, you guys know that the scouts are coming to watch those dudes play.
Yeah.
And then they show up, and who's this dude at O'Connell?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't know who to throw the ball to, he doesn't know what he's doing, but that dude can flat out throw. I think it was like week 6 of that season, and I started getting calls from college football teams. Like, yo, you need to come in for a visit, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of how the football thing kind of took off. And then essentially, I ended up deciding on Indiana because they were kind of the pole position for baseball, and the football team said I could play both.
Yeah.
Because I was not ready to pick.
Yeah, give up. Yeah. That was one of the factors.
It would have been silly. Yeah, I felt silly like, okay, I'm going to give up baseball. It's like my first true love to go, just be a football player. I didn't even think I was going to be good at football. Like, I was like, it's sexy, but I'm not that good. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, coverages, whatever. No, it was like, catch the snap, look around, throw it really hard at somebody.
Yeah.
So and then Indiana offered me the opportunity to play both. And so I just committed there.
That's so dope. That's such a cool story. And just kind of just going deeper into that at Indiana, I see you posted 2,100 yards through 9 touchdowns your senior year. And what me and Demby were a part of was that pre-draft process. Just the anxiety and just the unknowing of what's going to happen next after your college career. Could you take us through, like, you're done with your senior year, you have a good year. Can you tell us that story of how prospects came and found you and how you started to get your opportunity with the NFL?
So I had graduated. I graduated from the business school. I started interviewing with like Johnson & Johnson and stuff.
Ready for the real
radio
world.
job interviews.
Yep.
Wow.
You was ready for the real world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, what you failed to mention is I threw 14 interceptions in that season. And like I benched multiple times. Like, you failed to mention a lot of things negative about what I did in college, right?
Yeah.
Like only played 6 games, sat behind Antoine Randall for 4.5. I was not a prospect. Let's just, in my mind, I was the joke, not a joke, but like my recruiting class guys were like, they all joke about it still. Who are the guys that are going to make it to the NFL? There would have been like, here's the list. There would have been a big pile of like crap, and then there's Gibran at the bottom. Right? That's how bad I was.
Yo, this guy's crazy.
So yeah, really, I was interviewing and then interviewing for like regular jobs, and then out of them, a random cell phone number calls me. It's like, "Yo, my name's Buddy Baker. I think you're an NFL prospect."
I know Buddy Baker.
Okay, so
I know Buddy Baker.
Yeah, so Buddy calls me. He's like,
Wow.
"Yo, I think you're an NFL prospect. I've heard from a couple NFL GMs that you're a super sleeper." I'm like, "What?" I thought I was getting ranked. He meets me for breakfast. He's a great guy, and he's like, "Yo, I believe in you. I think there's something here, and I'm gonna start training you in Indy. You know, like as the agents did, like paid for you to go up to Indy and work out." I started working out with these other quarterbacks that were like more well known, and I started looking around. I'm like, "Oh, this is like the lower end quarterback tier."
I could do something.
I don't know what I'm doing yet, but you know, we're talking about just straight throwing the rock.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, because again, that's the parallel line. Throw the rock.
Yeah.
Parallel line. Wasn't invited to the combine. Indiana, we had a pro day, which I threw at, and it was fine, but it's not like a lot of teams showed up to the Indiana pro day. You know, it wasn't like we had a stacked roster. So I went to that. But my big break was that DC, the Skins, had like that local pro day. I don't know if they still do it.
Yep.
But it's basically like if you grow up within 50 miles of the facility.
Oh, yeah, the local day, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They get a local day, right? So Steve Spurrier is the head coach, and Buddy Baker is my agent, and I live in Bloomington or Indy, and the combine's happening in Indy. Yeah. So Buddy, back in the day, was just like with all his like late round potential free agents, he'd be like, "Yo, show up to the hotel, and then when these coaches come in during the combine, you just go up to them and start talking to them." Yeah, that was the strategy, right? And so that day, I'll never forget it. There was ice and snow. I spin my Jeep on the way to the hotel, and I'm about to call Buddy like, "Yo, bro, I'm turning around. I don't want to, you know." Oh, and honest to God, Tony, I get in there. I'm sitting in the lobby or the bar, and Spurrier walks in with his son to have a beer. Buddy like nudges me and like, "Go up to him, go up to him." I just go up, "Hey, I'm Gibran, and I'm going to be at your local pro day, and I'm a quarterback." And dude was like, "All right, bro, see ya." And that was it. And so up until then, to be honest, the real truth is like, I was like, he's paying for my workouts. I'm going to go in and do the work. Do that. But like, the parts where there's dreaming and thinking and wanting something, that's just never been my personality. Yeah. Right. It's good and bad too, but it helped me there because I didn't get drowned out in like, who's watching me, who likes me. It was all about me, like getting better, so that if I got an opportunity, I was ready to pounce. Yeah. Basically, that's what I was always really good at. Now, that singular thinking can hurt you from a strategy standpoint. Yeah. Right. In that, like, when you guys know, when you get in these locker rooms, I don't know how it is these days, but there's a lot of maneuvering and strategy and how people think about you. And I sucked at that because I was just naive, caring, loving, like, exactly. But anyway,
it's like Survivor.
yeah. And I was, you know, that's not my thing. But anyway, so I get to that workout, and the Skins that year had a second, a third, and a seventh round pick. You get into the facility or in the auditorium, and there's like 200 dudes in there. Yeah. And Spurrier walks in early, and he's like, "Is Gibran here?" Wow. And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Come to my office." And I'm like, "Oh my God, like what is that?" I mean, he's throwing me out beforehand. Like,
yeah, I'm like,
from
damn,
the
I'm
movie Major League. You know, like I got cut before the workout, bro. What the hell? He mad that I went up to him at the bar or something. I don't know what I did.
Right? I'm thinking everything negative in that moment.
In that situation, I walk in, I sit down, and I kid you not, this is exactly what he said. He said, and I won't use his accent. Sometimes I use his accent. I'm not going to do it here because it's not very good. But he's basically like, I didn't know who you were. He came up to me at the bar, and I was like, okay, I'm going to throw on his film because he won't be there anyway. And he said, I think you throw the ball as well as Carson Palmer.
Wow.
I was like,
That's
and
amazing.
Carson was the first pick
Yeah, he
overall
was
in
a
my
dude,
draft.
yeah.
Wow.
He was the dude. He was like, you throw it as well as Carson Palmer. You don't do anything else right, but you can do that well. And so then he said,
That's insane.
I'll never forget, he said, oh, Byron Leftwich was out of our area, so he got invited too, but Byron Leftwich didn't show up because they didn't even have a first round pick, and Byron Leftwich is working out at the comma. So he don't need to show up to the local day.
Yeah.
So Spurrier was basically like, okay, so you see those 200 people in the auditorium? You have to throw every pass, every single one of them, because you're the only quarterback here.
Wow.
And guess what? I really like quarterbacks, so I'm just going to spend the whole day with you.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen to everything I say, do everything I say, and if you're as good as I've seen on film at throwing the ball, I know I'm going to like you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I go back in the auditorium, we go to the workout, and sure enough, I threw like at least 750 balls that day.
Woo!
Easy.
Goodness.
Easy. But think about it. You know, I
That's
didn't
the perfect
I didn't
hop,
throw
though.
that many balls in college.
Yeah.
I didn't throw that many balls in high school, so I got a lot of life in this arm.
You was fresh.
Yeah.
You was fresh.
It was like the perfect opportunity.
And I didn't miss a throw.
Wow.
Like I did not. Oh, and the best thing was he was like, all right, hold the ball up high, like you see the Florida quarterback.
No
to
way,
be
like
a
the
real
Florida
thing, though, it came in. So, you know, I, like we say, oh, you want me to hold the ball here? Fine, I'll do it. Do whatever you say, I'll do.
Yeah.
Because I'm in that molding mindset, right? I'm down to work. I'm down to get better. If that's what you think is best, I'll do it. Like, you
Yeah.
know. And so I didn't miss a throw. Noah Brindice was the quarterback coach. We're walking off the field. He was like, I've never seen Spurrier react to anyone that way. Like, I don't know what just happened, but bro, like this
That's
is
a great compliment.
yeah, it's a great compliment. So I'm leaving the building, and he says, I got one problem with you. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't pronounce your name.
I would have been
And,
shocked.
and he said, can I call you Gibby? And you know, in those moments in your life when you like look back and you're like, oh, I wish I would have said this to this chick that broke up with me, or I wish I would have said. That was the
100%.
one time in my life that I could look back and say, like, oh, I said the perfect thing. Because I was like, if you draft me, you can call me whatever you want.
Yeah.
and it like, I could tell
That's
when I
perfect
said
response.
it that it was like, oh, damn, like that was good,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Like that was, you know, for like you talk about this Survivor series and how big of a marketing piece and like confidence piece is involved. For
Yeah.
whatever reason, I stepped outside of my normal, like super humble way about going about it with coaches and was like, you draft me, call me whatever you want. And I could just tell that like did something. And yeah, that's basically the pre-draft process. Probably a little too long for you.
A
But
lot of people will call
it.
that a stroke of genius. Just all of a sudden, just epiphany comes in, boom, hit.
Exactly.
So yeah,
yeah, no,
hit you at the right
it perfectly, 100%, bro, and it perfectly, you know, kind of segues into your NFL career, which was similar to, you know, your career prior. You know, just a battle for you, honestly, battle of learning. So you get drafted 7th round to the Redskins. They give you your opportunity. You took full advantage of it. You know, you had stints with Seattle, San Fran, Miami, Buffalo. So you know, had a pretty long career and beat the odds. But then there was also when you played this thing called NFL Europe, which you actually, you know, end up defying the odds. That's awesome.
Yeah, let's go.
You end up defying the odds and become at one point MVP of the NFL Europe League. So you were at times, you know, making the roster. You dealt with the injury, and then you would go to NFL Europe League. You were kind of bouncing back, kind of like now with us. You know, we were bouncing off the roster, practice squad. How did you deal with those mental battles? You know, continuing to prove yourself, become an NFL quarterback starter, and going back and forth between the leagues. And also, we're curious to know, how did the NFL Europe work? Like,
well, NFL Europe, bro. I'll start there. So, you fly to Tampa. All the teams fly to Tampa, and you're all in Tampa. Probably kind of how you guys are doing with, the XFL and stuff. But you go to Tampa,
Yeah.
and then you're assigned a team, and essentially there was a draft. Each team got to draft players. So the NFL teams would allocate 20 or 30 players. The coaches for each individual team, Amsterdam, Rhine, would draft their team, but the quarterbacks were kind of finagled.
Yeah.
We're going to say we have our starters that we know want to be the starters in the league, and then we know who we want the backups to be. We know but all the other players were drafted.
Yeah.
And then there were international players on every team. So we had like Noriaki Kinoshita, who's from Japan. We had a running back from France, and they didn't speak English, so you had interpreters there and training camp. Like it was it, right? It was it. And then so you're in Tampa for like 2 or 3 weeks with training camp, and then you're on a jet to your international country, and then they basically rent out 2 floors of a hotel. And you basically lived at the hotel in that city. And bro, it was like, I don't know what to tell you. Most guys did not appreciate, right?
Yeah.
They were like, let me get back, like different culture, different food, let me get back. Agents in the ear, like, oh, well, you're missing out spring ball. Because the truth is, if you got sent over to Europe, like, they really didn't think you were like, you weren't in the 2D, definitely.
Yeah.
And very rarely were you in the 3D. You're more like a 3D, 4D guy.
Yeah.
Right? But the thing you were doing was you were getting tape, right? You were getting mad tape, and that was awesome. And then NFL Europe worked like that. And then basically when you think of it like all this, you basically wake up, go to like morning meetings, you get in the bus, you go to practice, finish practice, come back, have meetings, you done by like 4.
Yeah.
And then you just out in Amsterdam or Utrecht, and you just got a hotel, you long, because Europe is like that.
That's so cool.
And so some of us really just like, embraced it. It was like, oh my God, what a fortunate thing that we get to do. And then there's no pressure, no TV timeouts. The game just flowed.
Yeah.
Coaches weren't under crazy pressure. So, it was just more fun than the seriousness got removed. And then the stories, the stories for days, like the stories that like would blow. Now that we're talking about it, I got a whole NFL Europe podcast in my brain, it's like, oh shit. Like I've been thinking about what would I do as a podcast? Like, oh man, if I just told like NFL Europe stories the whole time, this was for a year I could tell these stories.
Facts.
But anyway, so that was the part of NFL Europe that was great. And then I'd say, to answer your question about what kept me going, I've done a good job of like, if you're in a relationship or you get married or you have children, and I didn't know that then because I wasn't any of those things, but I know it now. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's this maturity of like knowing that if you choose something or you make a decision on something, that it's not always going to go how you expect or plan it, but that it's about bringing love and compassion and heart and soul and work ethic and the drive and the impetus to make it better all the time, because ultimately like you chose it.
100%. Yeah.
And I think that was the thing that I could draw a line on in my career. Like all this crazy stuff happening around and people saying, seriously, in some levels, like terrorist type stuff to me, or like I got
fans get crazy,
fans.
Oh,
in
just
the
people.
Facility,
oh,
bro.
people in the facility too.
Yeah. Like coaches, like
because you were one of the first. You were the first Pakistan descent in the NFL.
Yeah, it's a Palestinian and Pakistani.
Both.
It was a joke. The white dudes were like, "Yo, we're over here." Black dudes were like, "Over there." Gibran is the minority.
That's
like
crazy.
I'm the one they call him thirsty camel. You know what I'm saying? So
I know.
So
I didn't even think about that.
But the point I'm trying to make is like all that stuff is not dissimilar to, when you're getting cut or you're, getting passed over for a job that you think maybe should be yours or whatever it is. It was always came back to like, no, like I chose this. I love it. I'm making that choice to be here.
Yeah.
And when I do that, how I handle myself in that means something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only to other people, but most importantly, myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I was able to like kind of get through those times. Is there was never a moment where I decided like, yo, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then people will say the moment I decided I was done, which was in fact in Toronto in a CFL training camp, I got married, said I was done, and like an NFL team calls and was like, yo, get on the roster. You'd be the fourth quarterback, but I think you can beat the third. And I was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
So what that always proved to me was what I just pointed out to you, right? It was always like my decision to be chasing that.
Exactly.
And in that, I have to have the responsibility of what doing that is like. But then at any time, if you've had enough or you just don't think you've got it anymore, you also have to have the wherewithal to be like, nah, it's not me anymore.
Yeah.
And it's really truly knowing yourself. And that's kind of maybe what keeps the outside noise at bay and not let you get all like up and down on one coach's opinion or
Yeah.
a media person's opinion or whatever it is. So that's how I would describe it.
I love that. They definitely should bring back NFL Europe. 110%.
Yo, for real.
I got it.
Hey Tony, it's when he's telling the story, it reminds me of XFL.
Everybody's just like
honestly.
XFL, just the United States version. And not
Except
Yeah,
United States
but that's
version.
a big difference though. You guys were you Vegas?
We were, our team was Vegas Vipers, but we were like based in Texas. So
We're in Texas though.
like Dallas, Arlington area.
Mhm.
Where was your place? What like how'd they put you up?
Hotel.
Okay, you were in a hotel?
Yeah.
And like could you walk to like bars and stuff?
Yeah, we were Uber. Well, we have to Uber. We weren't that close to this, super close to the city.
Right. So like if you just did all that and then you like put like, oh, I could take a train to Paris.
Yeah. That's different. That's a whole different vibe.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, it was such a this is how bad I was about that lack of strategy I had.
Yeah.
After my third year in NFL Europe, and I won the MVP in the third season, broke my ankle, only played 7 games, still won the MVP. The year after that, I'm in Miami.
Yeah.
And I go to the head coach. I'm like, yo, can you send me back to NFL Europe?
Yo.
I was asking that. I was like, please send me back. He was like, no, you have to try to make this team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, like, I'm not going to make this team. Like, it in your heart. You got Dante Culpepper. You got, who else was there? Dante Culpepper, Trent Green, and you just drafted John Beck in the second round, bro.
Wow.
You will not keep me on this roster, but you are keeping me from Amsterdam, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
bro.
I get to go play. I'm getting old. He's
Facts.
like, dude, what is wrong? My agent everybody was mad at me. And
Yeah,
I
I know
didn't
Buddy
end up
Baker was
going.
tripping.
But in my heart, I was just like, that's fun. This is
Yeah.
I'm just wasting my time here. So,
Facts.
it was NFL Europe was just chef's kiss. But they were losing like $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Every team.
Wow.
Every team. So they were losing $30 million a year.
Yeah. That's how the XFL was too. XFL lost
pretty much
crazy amount of money in this past
Yeah.
year. And it was like inaugural kind of leagues and seasons. It's tough. That's a tough business, man. That's really tough business.
Bro, it's no different than any other thing, man. It's the world we live in, and it's just even more and more so. You talk about business, like, yo, it's brands, and it's big brands, it's big brands, it's big brands. Unless you're coming in with a brand that like is revolutionizing the way things are done, you ain't strap in for 15 years, bro. You ain't eclipsing these big brands for nothing.
Exactly.
It's no different than if you coming out with a soda, Coke is there laughing at you. And it's like, all right, come with it.
Peace
like,
out.
Yeah.
That's got to be like a
years.
100-year plan for you. it's got to be like an 100-year plan to build that up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Damn,
You know,
for
you got to
real?
have, you know, if you want to
Lying,
have
bro.
a successful football league or whatever, I mean, look, you can't get more marketable than The Rock.
Yeah.
More views than The Rock, right?
Right.
But bro, UFL gonna have their back is gonna be up against the wall because
Yeah.
you basically have to upend an entire couple generations
Yeah.
of minds thought that this is professional football in America,
Yeah.
and then whatever you're doing is else.
Exactly. No, 100%.
And then they want it to be pure.
Yep.
They want it to be pure and real football. And they think that's how the fans are gonna like. And I admire that. Marketing guy that ain't gonna get the ball changed over.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think that's a perfect segue too into the career path you
100%.
chose after, you know, your football career. And we see that in your kind of display of who you are in your bio and like your Twitter handle, it says designer, right?
Yeah.
Could you, and then JD, do you mind if I get 2 questions on this one because I got one to follow up right
No.
after it? Could you
All you.
explain what a designer is? What is a designer to you for people that are maybe interested
Designer
in this kind of
is
work?
yeah. Designer to me is a creative problem solver.
Mm-hmm.
So there's to me when you get into this creative thing, you're either an artist or a designer. Sometimes you can float between the two, which I've done from time to time. But if you want to categorize yourself as an artist, you'd basically be like, it's more like a spiritual, innate, I have to show the world what's inside of me. A designer is more like, yo, you come at me, I see something that I don't like, or I see a problem that I can solve or do better that's in the world. And I'm going to design that to be efficient or better or make a change. And I'm going to use creativity to do it. So most of my inspiration and stuff comes from the design side, as opposed from like I wake up and I just have a vision of this thing I want to draw and I draw it. It's more like, oh, posted the other day, Nike and Marvel should do something together.
Yeah, I saw
Boom.
that. That was
Let
cool.
me design. Now that's a design thing because it was like a problem. The problem for me is there's a Spider-Man shirt with a swoosh on it that I don't have.
Yeah.
So let me design that, right?
Yeah.
But I'm using elements.
I love
So that's
that.
how I would describe the designer thing. Now, within that, there's all types of fields for design.
Yeah.
I love that. Just going into that, the more that you explain it, it sounds like design is artistry with a distinct purpose into who's consuming it. Like whoever's consuming the art,
Right.
you're trying to tell them something psychologically to allow them to either like
Or
it.
solve their problem.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a specific vision in mind for the end user, so to speak.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You're really solving a problem.
And
Whereas, like, I could go paint something just because I like the paint. It's an expression, and it's not solving anybody's problem. It might solve their problem that they now have something a beautiful look at that they didn't before. But your intention wasn't to solve their problem. Your intention was, I have this thing in my chest that I got to get out.
Yes. And that goes
You know
into
what I'm saying?
to my second question, because
Wow.
when you have that problem solving, you want to build trust in whatever you're presenting to whoever you're trying to give it to, whether it be a consumer or customer. And I actually saw a video recently about how design was used intensively for not only advertising but also propaganda. So it's also doing things in design allows the human brain to think in a certain way about what they're seeing, right? And it gives them indirect messages about what they're looking at and how it's going. And I know it's kind of interesting to talk about propaganda and advertisement, but it's really about business as well in your design. Like, how do you, in your design, how do you get people to trust what you're trying to give to the world? As a business owner and consumer. So I wanted to ask,
Nice.
how does design in your business play? You know what I mean? How important is it not only to yours but to others as well in branding and everything else like that?
I think it's vitally important. I think what I've learned is there's like a micro and then a macro aspect to it. The micro aspect is there's certain things in design that you can do to convey feelings and emotions or get someone to feel something, and those are important that you put those things in there. And I would put that in, whether it's an individual logo that I design or a website. I'm definitely trying to get them to feel a certain thing within properties that I use to design. So whether it's like negative space in a logo, you put negative space in a logo, and then it's detailed within the framework of what the business is trying to do, the end user automatically will go, okay, there was like intentional thought here for them to like take an extra space in their logo to show me in their negative space of what they do. So this mark that's on Instagram is telling me something before I even have to read anything. That's nice. Thank you for doing that. Right.
Wow.
So, you guys have that AM thing in your logo. I look at it, right? And so it's saying something. It's like, okay, the designer had the idea to stack the A and the M. That's saying something. But then also it's like, what's the negative space there for? Like, did this get pushed far enough? Is this? And so then with that, I'm thinking things about the two of you or your business, right? So that's the micro, right?
Wow.
Is that like every little decision you make, and that's where these fibers and a lot of this stuff, it's getting very hard. So within that scope, the end user, the people that are starting the business, that's when they underestimate design, right? Is that they put price first or cost first or sightedness first because they're either in a rush, they don't understand that aspect in the business. That can hurt you. I don't think in a huge way, frankly, because what I've also learned is the end user not everybody is a designer. So when I look at your AM logo, I'm going like, I'm piecing it like a designer, but like 90% of people are gonna be like, yo, let me just turn this on and see what's that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No. But so you're flat because, and that's what a designer like me struggles with, is because somebody can get a logo on Fiverr for $5 and you're trying to convince them why they should trust something from somebody else, and that's a very difficult thing if they don't have that design perspective. I find that that's a big challenge because not everybody respects it. You can see it in our buildings. You can see it. You can see it in how we build things. Like the houses and stuff. Just like, who cares how it looks? Like cost.
Exactly.
Get these
I'm trying
things
to make
up
this
fast.
slip. Yeah.
And that's a perfect point.
So
good.
You go to Amsterdam, you go to other countries, they put a lot more work and dedication in their designs. So it's very unique
because
in
they
how
want to
they
speak to
present it.
you just like
Instead of America, everything's a box in America.
We were in Japan on the trip, bro. We were in Japan. We were in Tokyo, and I'm
I want to go
walking my
there.
kids, and they were doing the lines on the road,
Yeah.
And bro, when I tell you that they had like 18 people set up
crazy
to do like these little like repaved like a side street.
Wow.
And the caution and the detail and all that stuff is because they respect that as a society that group has decided that this is a vital thing for us. So I think when you ask this question about design propaganda, I actually think why it's so prevalent in the Western hemisphere is because as end users, unfortunately, there's not enough like, no, that like you will give me the best. You will. Not enough people are seeking out that and saying, no, I won't buy this crap house that you just built for $900,000. This is not good enough, right?
Yeah.
But everybody's so like, I gotta buy a house. I gotta buy a house. I gotta buy a house. You go buy that house, like, bro, pretty shitty design to pay for there.
Yeah.
I get it from a financial and feeling the burden of our society. You need to go buy that house and deal with the fact that it's not well designed. But like, because of that rush and that lack of like macro perspectives on how important these things are.
Yeah.
And you can find it in every industry, you know, because at the end of the day, it's humans making these like short-sighted decisions or not pushing things. And I don't blame them because I'll spend hours on something.
Yeah.
It'll be carefully thought, carefully designed, and get no burn.
Yeah.
You know, I do a video saying, you know, Brock Purdy shouldn't have thrown that interception.
Yeah. I know. For real.
So that
It's
business
a society,
aspect is real, you know, where am I playing the game? Am I playing the game? And that comes back to the first thing I said, where you have to really think about like what your setup is, what your system is, where you playing the game. And that's something that I've really struggled with sometimes is like, you know, I'll be playing a game and I'm almost like a little too far ahead. Or understanding the end user doesn't really care that much about that kind of stuff. They just want this or whatever, you know.
Amazing point.
So there's always that struggle. Whereas if I was an artist, I'd be like, take it. I don't get, you know. You don't like it?
This.
You don't like it? You know, I don't know. Look, I can do these like, you know, F you. You know, you don't like it? I'm here. And I just don't have that, you know. I don't have that.
Yeah.
So anyway.
No, yeah. It sounds like, you know, there's purpose, there's strategy, and there's a fine line in everything you do. And you know, we're talking about design, graphic designs, but you do much more than that, and you do a lot of things. And some would say you're someone who, you know, has lived 12 different lives. You know, so you've not only are in, you know, graphic design, you're also in, you know, fashion design. You had an American Polo brand you made. You were at one point CEO of a football club in England. You know, you founded a design agency, made a movie. I'm curious to actually know what it's called. I think it's Good Soul. I'm not sure. Opened a retail store, all while being the ultimate family man, like you said earlier, traveling the world. You know, what was the move into the start that okay, I want to be in creative design, but also what sparked all these different ventures that, you know, you're involved in?
That's a good question. I'll answer the first one first. As I said earlier, there's never like a master plan. I'm not a great strategist. So the reality was I did the NFL broadcast boot camp.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of my career because I thought I was going to do TV. And I went to the boot camp. I was the 12th man. You know, I was like, they invited 12 guys. I was the 12th man. By the end, James Brown was like, yo, you need to be doing this for a living. Like, you're so good at it, natural, blah, blah, blah. I send my tapes out to a couple people. And then I have an agent, a different agent, see my tape. And he was like a big time agent. And he's like, your nationality is a problem.
Wow.
We won't go any further than that, but he was basically like, this is 2010. He's like, I would not advise you to get into this industry. And at the same time, I'm sewing. I'm teaching myself how to sew, like literally in the next room. I'm using my wife's sewing machine to like sew. Because I was like, oh, it'd be fun to sew.
Exactly.
Like, well, you know, let me make some fashion. I was into fashion. And so I just got off the call and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's the universe telling me I shouldn't do TV broadcasting. I'm just going to start this clothing brand because I'm sewing anyway. This kid came over who was like a high school friend of my wife's mom, who was a teacher, and he taught me Adobe Illustrator. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, let me make a logo. Let me make these shirts. I went to LA. I taught myself pattern making and like found the factory. And I was like, yo, like make these shirts. And I started making them. I built a website. I did all the emails. I just did stuff like, you know, just like, you know, bootstrap type stuff. And got lucky. A guy started buying them and he was a PGA Tour player. Wow. And he just hits me up and is like, yo, I love your shirts. Will you sponsor me on the PGA Tour? Wow. I was like, no way. I don't even play golf, but sure.
That's the universe telling you to do that.
Yeah. And then he also said, you know, my wife thinks my style is awful. So can you like help me, like tell me what pants to wear and hats to wear?
Wow.
Oh shoot!
So
So you became a
essentially, I was like,
stylist.
okay, yeah. So I basically like started. I pivoted to golf with the brand. I did a whole video release, which I filmed myself and like do all that stuff. And then like it started to gain traction, and he had a great year on tour. His name was Bo Van Pelt. And then like luckily he played against Tiger in a final round,
No way. That's
and it
awesome.
was like, oh, a 4 hour commercial because it was just him and Tiger, and
Yeah.
he was wearing a pink shirt because he liked to wear pink on Sundays, and I was making these crazy pink shirts. And this is 2012 in Golf
Yeah.
Space, and
That's
I, you
crazy.
know, and yeah, we did well. I was shipping all the boxes out myself, and that's kind of how the whole thing started. Was I did that, and it's kind of comical because now it's like the golf brand, Eastside
Yeah.
Golf, some great brands out there.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I was like one of the very few that were just like
Yeah.
alternate brand. You can't, not Nike or whatever. And that's kind of how it started. So I basically taught myself thing because if there was a project that needed to be done, like a video or creative idea that came in my head, I was just like, oh, it'd be better if I learned how to do it.
Yeah. I feel that.
We both know I didn't have money in the bank like NFL starter would. So it was like,
Yeah.
yo, it's not like I got how many ever thousands of dollars to pay some video guy to do the video. Like I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do it myself. Not gonna be
Facts.
great, but so I think that that's kind of how the creative thing happened. Really, was the impetus. But again, no master plan, strategy. You know, Rose that friends will be like Gibran, like you are like because I ran that, and then my first son was born.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, so the world lied to me. Was born, and I was literally all I could think was like, I've been lied to. It
Yeah.
had like a profound impact on me, right?
Yeah.
Because we like fight to become like this like professional athlete, and in certain cases you got a big paycheck, or you see dude that like
Yeah.
you make it to
Well,
a certain climb, and then like here it is. I just found a lovely woman, and we fell in love, and then we had this child, and I'm just like, yo, bro, this is the jam.
yeah,
This
this
is
is this is happiness right now.
look at this little child.
Yeah.
How cool is
That's
that?
powerful.
And yeah, it was so powerful. I was like, I don't think I want to do these shirts no more.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little. I mean, why
Yeah.
am I gonna leave the house to go work on this brand when I got this like gem of a child here?
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, I was like year 4, and we were killing it.
Yeah.
And I just basically was like, oh, my son was born. I'll do a couple emails. We'll come out with a couple of shirts, but the thing just started going like this,
Yeah.
straight downhill. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. My son was
Yeah.
born, and I was just like, bro, this is.
I gotta focus on the now.
I gotta be with my kid. And so that's basically what happened to that, and then, on and on we go.
Yeah. So
Very not strategic, not
yeah.
business-like. In reality, when you look at those things that you said, and doing all those things, and I have done all those things. And on one hand, you could say I lived 12 lives, which would probably be true. On one hand, you could say I'm very successful at trying new things and getting the ball rolling. On the other hand, like another business person could literally look at it and be like, I'm the biggest failure of all time.
Yeah.
Because none of it was based on strategy or like an end game, which is a lot of what our society really, that's what you're
Yeah.
trying to do. You're
Yeah.
trying to like get an exit or things like that. And I never found that to be my personality when I got into it. It was always just like passion, lifestyle, love, no different than me
Yeah.
as a quarterback, right? Like
Yeah.
wanting to go to NFL Europe
Europe,
every
right?
year. Right? Like
Yeah.
that's basically how I've been as a business person. So, there's good and bad there. There's good and
Yeah.
bad.
No, 100%. I think it's the perspective you have on it for sure.
Yeah.
I love how things like fell into place for you in all these
Yeah.
different stages of your life. Like it just seemed like God was designing your life so particularly for you. But it makes sense just to hear how just the way you're speaking, just like your story, who you are, like describing who you felt like you were. You just seemed very humble. You were open, and you were exploratory. Like you didn't mind exploring, and not only NFL Europe, but
Yeah.
just exploring different things just to do. Just you sewing out of, you know what I mean? Where does sewing come from? You know what I'm saying? Where did that come in? But
Yeah.
it's something that
Yeah.
you just felt like, let me try it. Let me see if I can do this, and look where it turned into. So I think that's really cool of, just being available and
Yeah.
and allowing the universe to work. This is really awesome to hear, because you hear that from society, and it's like a consumerism as well as like greed and gluttony of, yeah, I'm gonna build this up so we can sell it, just so that, instead of it being purposeful or like passion in whatever you're doing. So that's amazing to hear from your background and your story and all those endeavors. It's really dope.
Well, thank you, and I think that's a fascinating point. Even if your podcast is pointing to athletes in general, I think that's something that within that scope of what we're talking about, that I was able to do rather quickly and well, that I've seen others not, is this like this exploratory thing is almost like the most difficult thing in our society for someone that has achieved something of note, is that
Yeah.
at some point you become like not allowed to be exploratory.
That is so true. That is
So
so
like,
true.
you got to think about, okay, let's talk about, I went from an NFL quarterback to sewing clothes to then basically like dropping my business for my newly born son.
Wow.
So if you put yourself as an athlete in that perspective, we won't use, we'll use let's say some quarterback now
Yeah.
that is just retired because no team wanted to sign him anymore or something like that. He's like been in the league 5 years, and then he comes out and he outwardly says like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start sewing polo shirts.
Yeah.
And then he starts like a company that does really, really well. And then like it's doing really well. And then like he disappears from his Instagram feed and he's not doing the shirts anymore. Like Eastside Golf just stopped posting.
Yeah.
Where did Eastside Golf go?
Yeah.
Like he
Like,
don't
what are
in
you
now to
doing?
take over the world.
Yeah.
But Eastside Golf just like, and being that within that journey, the only way that I was kind of allowed to do that for myself was basically to just like ostracize myself, because within the framework of traditional society, those things are kind of unheard of. Forget society, try doing that with your family.
Yeah. I know.
Just try just
Yeah.
with your mom and dad, and imagine that. And then, it's a huge struggle. I mean, it's
Yeah.
very difficult. So
No.
I think that that's for athletes specifically, or anyone that's in a field where they're super entrenched and accomplish something. That transition can be very difficult.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I love what you said, because you described it perfectly. It is something that, I don't necessarily consistently deal with it personally, but you can like feel it. Like me and Tony, us being, all of us being athletes, we went into our creative spaces as well, like doing music and stuff like that. And once people, there's this notation of that, rappers want to be athletes, athletes want to be rappers. So like when somebody sees an athlete making music, they're like, they're just like, another athlete trying to be a rapper. And it's like, instead they rather than like, okay, this person's being creative, or they're starting a podcast, they're kind of just like, why don't you just use and they don't even know how much money why don't you just use your money and start a business, or why don't you be this or that? They already have something in place for you, that it's like, but that's not exactly what someone may want to do. So it's great that you said that. I love that, because it related to me.
Yeah, you just have to be willing, I think, at every stage to just be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And then and in that, know that inherently, by being honest with yourself, especially coming from an athletic career, any career that you're entrenched in, there are going to be so many haters.
Yeah.
It's not even haters. There's just a lack of empathy and understanding based on how our society is built.
Exactly.
And you always have to like be you. So that part that Tony was bringing up about like these opportunities and things like that, again, they came because like I basically was like, I don't care if other people think I'm wasting my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? They told me that. They tell me consistently.
Your varsity baseball
Wasting
coach.
talent.
Your varsity baseball
Yeah.
coach was he was a hater.
But forget that. Like consistently to this day.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You could have been this. You could have been the most successful at that. Like, you know,
Wow.
you could have taken your golf every single one.
Yeah.
They're just like, they see that same schedule that you described, and I'm basically a quitter.
Yeah.
You know? But the reality is that like it just still going with me, and the truth is the me hasn't yet within the societal bounds hit something that was like the perfect
Yeah.
society and the perfect thing for me. It's just a fact. And I'm still
Exactly.
searching, and I'm in that flow, and people appreciate me, or you see something online that you appreciate, it's because what you're seeing is somebody that like is openly admitting that
Yeah.
like, yo, I'm trying,
Facts.
but like I have not figured it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And so when I get into this place where people just appreciate the trying a little bit, but they still mad that
Yeah.
I ain't figured it out, or he should have figured it out a long time ago, and if he had, he would be here.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It's like a linear thinking, like, you know, he's on that line.
No, I love that. I resonate with everything you're saying.
Absolutely, 100%. And it's everybody's life is built out in chapters. Everybody has a story, and everybody has chapters that have distinct in things that happen in it that, you know, kind of propel you to what you're going next, like for the next chapter, or based off the last chapter. What can I do to build off what I've done already in my past? And in this chapter in your life, we see that you have come up with I would say, an online resource called the Creative Quarterback, which is, I just want to kind of give a little bit of, like, obviously me, JD, we played in the league. You know, we played in a whole bunch of different leagues, college, for a long time. I've been playing football since I was 12. The Creative Quarterback, if you're an offensive or defensive player, is one of the best resources you can ever tap into if you want to learn football at a high level, but also it being so user friendly. Like, the user experience is fun, it's playful. It's like you want to go ahead and play Madden after you take your course, because you make it into a game. Yeah, absolutely. You make it into a game like teaching instruction. So I just want to say, like, as a GA, I was a coach last year. If you're an upcoming athlete and you're trying to learn ball, tap into the Creative Quarterback. And I know I kind of gave that already, you know, a big shout out, but can you explain how that was able to, you know, conceptualize and your plan in this venture as well?
Yeah.
Love that.
At the moment, I would love for some of your users to tell me what the plan of the venture is, because the honest got through this, I ain't got a clue what the plan of the venture is. That's probably not surprising to the people that are listening. Like, who is this crazy person? Like, no plan, no strategy. Here's the truth. Always sucked on social media. Like, did not know. If you scroll down the Creative Quarterback on Insta long enough, you'll see it's like the world trip, and then you'll see it's like design stuff. And I just was bad. I could not get any traction. And we talk about design. And so as a designer, I'm like, yo, I'm obviously not solving people's here. Like, what am I doing? And so we get back from the world trip, of which I posted videos from all around the world, New Zealand and Petra and Egypt. And I'm taking 2 kids. You know, it's like, we got 4 likes, 5 likes. Wow. Auntie and grandma, you know, like, you know, like
facts. And you'd be like, dang, yo, this is great content. Why is,
you know, I'm like, yo, this is kind of cool. Like, we doing something cool, different. Like, this should be getting more traction, not from a like standpoint, but again, I am a designer. I do care that what I'm doing has an impact on people. If I'm not, then like, well, I could just go back, hang out with my family. Like, if I don't come to work, I needed to make a difference. If it doesn't make a difference, then like I'll just go hang out with my family and like try to find work that's just, but if I'm going to sit down and try to give you a part of my soul, I want to get that feedback that like, yo, this is helping me. This is good. This is
Yes.
positive. And you'll notice in the Instagram, my favorite thing is if somebody comments positive or negative, I'm just like, oh, damn, you into this? Great. Like,
Yeah.
I love it, right? With fire emojis, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, I was recognizing that like nothing I did design wise moved the needle on there. And even in my business aspect, when I get a client, the job, it's always like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're the greatest. Take my money.
Yeah.
But I definitely struggle with doing the things necessary to get a whole bunch of clients, right?
Yeah.
Because of what we've talked about, right?
Yeah.
I lack that strategic part of it because I'm so just it's a metaphysical state all the time.
Yeah. Sounds
So,
like us a little bit.
So essentially what I did was I found I followed a couple guys on Insta. Like these guys they know what they're doing. They're young, but they like understand the mechanics of social media. So I took their social media class and I get in there and it was similar to this conversation. Like, Gibran, you do all of this stuff like on your own, like you're doing the video editing, you're doing the graphic. Yeah, I'm like, yeah. And they're telling me how impressed they are, and I'm just like, yeah, but nobody, like, I get no burn.
Yeah.
Burn, bro. None.
Oh,
And they were like, that's because no one cares about your design. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
And these guys are great.
That hits.
These guys are like fabulous humans, but they just look me in the eye like, bro, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Care about football with you, and that's getting back to this really struggle that we have that we talk about is like, man, he's designing, but cool, but like, he ain't that great a designer, know. And so as a challenge for the class, we had these projects like create the videos, and they were really talking about like how the world sees you and what the world wants from you. And so I put on my designer hat one day. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to open Illustrator and draw some plays on this NFL play. Then I'm going to open Photoshop and make all the players disappear and make them reappear on things. And I'm going to open Premiere Pro and I'm going to do the video and I'm going to do the sound and I'm going to do the talk over and I'm going to do all this thing. And I'm going to like use this Madden thing to make it look perspective. How can I make it fun, And then like put the video out. And like in 4 seconds, these dudes from my class are like, bro, this is gonna blow.
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Yeah, that's insane.
I was like, what do you mean, what is this? Like, this is fine. I did it like in a couple hours. Like, they said it took you a couple hours. I was like, yeah, I can do all this stuff. And they're like, watch, bro, it's gonna blow.
Yeah.
It's got like 850,000 views, and it was the first thing I ever did that people were like, yeah, that's what we want from you.
Yeah.
We understand that.
Yeah.
And so, because I was in this class, I just started pounding out these videos.
Wow.
Then I was just like, all right, we'll call it the creative quarterback because that's what I'm doing. I'm being a quarterback. I'm doing stuff. I'm creative. I'm doing stuff that way. Here you go. And that's literally how it came up. It's just like part of me putting that out there. But still, to this moment, it's like, man, but like, all the simple things that all creators now deal with and learning about creators and Instagram and business model. It's about how do you monetize it? What are people actually willing to pay for? I'm doing these videos basically for free, taking up time. It's really this part of like now actualizing what that company or business model is a sincere challenge. It's a big time challenge on the internet. It's really hard. And I believe me, I've done a lot of things as we've talked about, but this part where you're like adding value and the very few that can actualize a monetization around that value is, bro, I promise you, I've been through a lot of these businesses ups and downs. This is the most challenging thing And the people out there will make
Yeah.
it seem real easy, you know. Give them a free white paper, get them to sign up to the email list, and you making money. I'm like, man, bruh,
Yeah, it don't work like that.
a couple people are doing it, but on
Yeah.
a whole, I think it's the biggest challenge of this generation of creators and designers and
Yeah.
entrepreneurs is like, how can you, you know, capitalize on this content and this storytelling and this channel you're building to the point where you can keep supporting yourself within it. You know, I think it's a big
Yeah.
struggle. I think it's a big struggle.
Yeah, no, that's amazing because that was you know, one of the questions I had was like, what was one of your toughest ventures? And I know even for me personally, is trying to, you know, it's good to it's easier to figure out the product, figure out the website, figure out the design, but getting it to the masses and getting people to resonate with it is like the hardest part. And personally, from me, I just want to say, looking at your Instagram, looking at your brand, and your art as well. Me as just another, you know, creative in the creative space, I love what you're doing. I love the Moana swoosh painting. I mean, bro, I'm like, I saw Contact for pricing. I was about to contact last night, bro. I really love it. So like everything you're doing on the creative side, man, personally, not just because we got you on the podcast, I truly want to, you know, give you the respect and appreciation of what you're doing for sure, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It means a lot. It means a lot.
And that's what this podcast is about too. Is it's business is very, very difficult. Like,
Yep.
so because there's so many subsets in each category of what you got to try to get right. You know, it's just. And we talked to someone last week. We just talked about how the transition from being a NFL athlete into a business person or entrepreneur is extremely similar because you put in so much work. You put so much work in to be the best that you can be at your position, as a teammate, and honestly, as a football player, really in any kind of professional, you don't know what the reward could be. Obviously, the reward could be great, but the chances are so slim. And really, and I don't want to say the chances are slim in business, but it's the same. You have to have the same kind of mindset approaching the business attitude. Is like, I just have to put the work in. And that's just what I'm just telling myself. I can see from you, you put the work in multiple ventures. And as this one may be more difficult, this is something that really resonates with me. I like, just like JD said, I love it, bro. Like I was taking.
We're fans, bro. We're fans, 100%.
And then and think about it for me. I've been playing football for I don't know, and since I was 12. I'm 28 now, so 15, 16 years. And the concepts that you share, like I not only that I never heard it like you've done before, presented it like you have, I actually understood it the best after you explained it the way you did. So it's obviously the design is very, very important, but the meat and potatoes as well, like the actual product, like the actual teaching, is very, very thought out, thorough, and it's high level. Like you actually get to learn something from your course. It's not just looking at consuming it and just getting pleasure from or dopamine shots from just how it looks. You're getting legitimate, how do you say, substance from your content as well. Like being a coach, the concepts weren't shared with me. Like I didn't understand like coverages. You know what I mean? Understanding, all right, based on cover 2, cover 3, the shell, how's the shell going to look? You got, is the middle of the field closed, middle of the field open. And you break that all down. I'm like, okay, cool. The middle field closed. And so it allows me, it inspires me too to teach other offensive linemen because like I said before we started the podcast, we're in a box. We don't know anything that has to do with any kind of shell. We don't know what he's doing, but they tell you the story. They give you a story of, okay, based on if the strong safety is, inside the hash, outside the hash, then
capped over the nickel.
Exactly. Is he capped the nickel? Is he stacked? There could be a pressure, and that can help us really well just protecting you. So I know we're kind of just going all over your product, but I just want to tell you that your product is valuable in many ways.
Yeah.
And whoever's listening to it, I'll put, you know what I mean? I'll pay for it for you. If you're trying to learn, you know what I mean? Like, probably like 2 people. I don't know how much I can afford, but
don't say that. Don't say
right. 200 people be like, yo,
you about to Flood the DM.
But I feel you, and I appreciate your vulnerability too. Just really telling
Yeah,
us your
100%.
struggles for it,
Yeah.
and especially this stage of your life, this chapter in your life. You know, you're always gonna have difficulties, like, and I really appreciate that vulnerability too. And it just gives
Yeah.
people hope and inspiration. Is just just know if it's not how you feel like it is right now, but you know that people that are looking at it really appreciate it. It helps you to keep going in a sense. You feel me? So
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest takeaway, if anybody's listening, that I would pass along, that I've learned from my ups and downs, and basically the thing I'm working on diligently right after we get off this call, and basically been working on the last 3 days, is like recognizing that, you know how you described the NFL thing,
Yeah.
and the ability to work hard. And I think anybody that maybe has been in society trying to achieve a certain thing can maybe relate. The thing that had was kind of like excuse me, um, a set structure that you basically, when you enter into it,
Mm-hmm.
you say, "This is what I want."
Mm-hmm.
And I think the part that I'm recognizing for myself that I've done a poor job of, that needs to change if I want to actualize like financial success, right? Because I've actualized personal success in all the ventures tremendously. Like,
Yeah.
I have more fun than anybody, I promise you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
That's
real
love.
talk, the English football CEO thing came because I was playing hella FIFA, and I was like, yo, I got an idea for how like soccer team, design and players. I got an idea.
Yeah.
Like transfer that into the real world. So I'm about to have a fun, but like the parts that I'm recognizing that I do poorly as it relates to business. And I think that if every athlete can get to this place, we can all be hella successful.
Yeah.
Recognizing that because there isn't a structure of what the vision is, we often are, we often in those moments when it gets difficult, because there isn't that big vision,
Yeah.
we can get sidetracked, or we can actually get really down on ourselves, or we can get like off of the path that if we were doing that in our football career, it'd be like, oh, bro, you're about to get cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you're about to get cut. Like, you
Facts.
ain't going to get signed. Like, because, but in the NFL, there is always, or like sports, or whatever it is, there's this vision that's predetermined that you can then look at and say, okay, that's the North Star, or that's what I'm trying to do. And I think that that's the thing that like I need to work on immensely. And I think that that is the thing for a lot of former players, is it's super hard.
Yeah.
That, or that brand, and then like put a stamp on it and put a logo on it. Like for me, like as a designer, I'm literally working on like, okay, making that, seeing if I can get to that place.
Yeah.
And as I sit here now, I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
But I promise you, if I get to that place, I'm gonna put a logo on it like the Shield.
Yeah.
Wow, and then I'm gonna make like fake. I'm gonna make fake teams. I'm gonna make like a fake college system. I put myself in the high school of, and I'm gonna fake all of that because I think I've been through it. I think that's the issue.
Yeah. 100%.
That because in those moments when you don't make enough revenue that month, or people aren't finding your podcast or whatever, if we equate that to our career, we would just be like, oh, that's us in high school, and like we didn't get the offer, but I still know I'm trying to make it to the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, I'm committed to this thing. But now when it happens, you don't get the podcast, you start going, man, I should already be doing a podcast. Like, why should I do a podcast? Like, nobody even listening to this shit, right?
Yeah.
Or, you start a clothing brand and nobody's even looking at your clothes. You're like, well, why am I doing clothes? Like, so if we equated it, it was like you'd be in high school, you didn't get the offer, and you're like, I'm gonna go be on the math team.
Yeah. That's not gonna happen.
Like, right?
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't go be on the rap team. You know,
Yeah.
like that's not
an
helping
option.
you get to the NFL.
Exactly.
And because those options were gone,
Mhm.
we just were like able to like, you know, and I think that that's the part of business that us athletes, or at least me, I can speak for myself, that has definitely been my failure point, is that, you know, I'll get into it, I'll do well. I've been total failure, actually. You know, like
Yeah.
I made a clothing brand, it did really, really well.
Exactly.
Like I was having success. I got to like D1, and not because I didn't have like a plan. Shields,
Yeah.
D1, and I was basically like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm bored. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Like let it die.
Facts.
You know. And then you like make a side move into like a design agency, or then you go make a movie, and it's all for me. It's all in the same
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
but I ain't got that like top level
Vision.
the
The whole
vision.
it screams vision. Like the vision is
Vision.
is
Yeah.
and then you saying
And before we never had we never worried about the vision. The vision was laid out for us, and then also emphasized by everyone around us, because it was like, you know, hey, what's Tony trying to do? Oh, he's trying to make it to the NFL. So even when you say what happened in my career, the thing that we talk about I missed in my career is the same mistakes I'm making now. I just kind of went with the flow. Somebody tells me to try to do something, I do it. Turns out I'm not bad at it, but then there's no, I never sit in a room and go, but what do but what is the vision?
Yeah.
Right? And so I think if you're an athlete or somebody sitting at home and you have that, and you can honestly say that you have the vision, I would say you're 100 steps ahead of me. Even if you don't have the skill sets I have, if you have a vision of what your life is going to, of this North Star that is so strong that when you get knocked off the pedestal, or you don't get the money on the contract that you want, or like revenue doesn't go the way that month, but you have that vision, those are the people that, to me, from our background, are going to really succeed from the external point of view, let's say financially or whatever, in society, because you built that in, right? And even if you have that, you're 1,000 steps ahead of me, even though I could do all these different things and like hella talent, but like there's no vision.
Yeah.
That is
So if you can align yourself either with a vision that you have for your mom, like yourself, that's going to be strong, you can put a logo on it, you can say this is what it is. Like it's got to be big.
Yeah.
Big vision. It can't be this little like, I want to start a clothing brand. I did that. Bounce out.
Yeah.
You know, like, all right, whatever. What's next? Because even if you have success, see, this is the thing that like is super impressive and for me to learn. And like I said, I basically learned it in the last 3 days. Like, I had a clothing brand. It was successful. Dude hit a hole in one at the Masters wearing my shirt.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty good.
Don't get better than that.
Like the real talk. Like, yeah, it made money. It was paying me. Dude hits a hole in one in the Masters. How many clothing lines can say that?
Yeah.
And still looking back, I can look at it like, yeah, I did some good things, but also it didn't serve what purpose. What is that? What was that for?
Yeah.
So, look, you can get deep into stuff, you can all accomplish stuff, but I'm telling you right now, like, that's the thing. Like, if you can get to that place, if you put yourself in a quiet place, or you're already gifted that,
yeah,
that's the gift. Like, the vision of, like, what my life is. And I can say that because, on one hand, my vision has come to fruition, and I'm super fulfilled in it, and that my family, basically, like, sacrificed a lot of societal norms of success for basically just being like, like I spend a hell of time with my family. Like we around each other a lot.
That's love,
and
man.
it
That's
shows.
what it's all about.
And it shows. So that's where I'm almost pulling it from. It's like, oh, well, I definitely had a vision for that once my son was born, and I actualized that.
Yeah.
And I've worked hard at it.
Exactly.
focused, and that's like almost like my NFL thing has been my family.
Yeah.
So a big takeaway that anybody that's listening within this business athlete thing, that really this is like that, you know, you know,
Yeah.
you know, would have
Mm.
like you could see it early.
Yeah.
I think it was starting to take shape in terms of vision. That's the kind of, you know, mentality he had, but that's that. He was already bringing it to business.
Mm.
Yeah.
You
Very,
know, there
very
was
true.
like venture capital. There was like you could see the house
Yeah.
was going to be built.
Mm-hmm.
The house of Mamba, right?
Yeah.
You look at Shaq, worry about it that much, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
In all in regards, Shaq was more like my style was like, yeah, I just do that, and then obviously
Yeah.
not, but the style of getting into that vision, Shaq's just like
Striking
running
gold in
around
different
doing,
places. Yeah.
yeah, he's just doing stuff,
Yeah.
right? But I'm sure there's a vision there, but as he can even present that more and more, that's like as we try to follow people in the industry that have done a really good job. It's important to watch them and see who's doing those things, just like we would have watched a player that we were trying to follow in the NFL, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, if we can, and I think that there's not enough athletes that are kind of like doing that. So this
Yeah.
podcast, hopefully you can, you know, I have no doubt you're going to get to the place where, and if I'm telling you, not that you needed the vision for the podcast, but like, you know, if you get off the call, it's basically like, yo, how can we kind of actualize
Mm.
this showing people that like,
Yeah.
yo, you need to like have a business vision on the level that you did for your athletic career. And then, you know, that kind of grows into something huge for the two of you, I think. You
Yeah.
know?
No,
Like
that's
you're the
amazing.
resource for that, where it's like,
Yeah.
yo, we can get somebody on, like not only have them talk about like what they're doing now, but like, yo, but like how are you assimilating all of this within a framework
Mm-hmm.
of like a global or a vision for your life?
Mm.
Yeah. That's powerful. And it's crazy that that message somehow continues to keep coming back to us. So something's inching us to continue to move in, you know, this direction, and you know, that's telling us that this platform is going to be very purposeful. And that word that you gave us and a lot of the different people, and hopefully the people that we wanted to reach, it does reach them, because that was a powerful word, and you know, definitely resonates with us and going to resonate with some athletes for sure. And honestly, not even non-athletes, people of just the world, and you know, whether it's corporate or owning a business, whatever, it's gonna resonate. So that was a powerful
If you want
word.
the best game, come to Athletic Money, dog. We got guys like Gibby. I'm gonna call you
Yeah.
Gibby because I love that name.
Yeah,
But
y'all can do that. That's fine.
I don't know if you like it or not. But and I'm
No,
sorry if
that's
you
fine.
don't.
I don't care. Yeah,
But
that's good.
that kind of game is revolutionary. That can change somebody's life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That could change. I know it definitely impacted mine heavily because that's what you just a vision is something that at least you can just keep on. You said it. You keep on that path, even if you don't have the skill. At least you have
Yeah.
a vision. At least you have a vision.
Yeah.
Somebody can help you with skills along the way that can get you there. So that
Yeah.
game, you know, hey, I'm telling you, I appreciate you dropping on this podcast.
Yes.
If you
Appreciate your
want to drop it
time.
on Credit QB too, you feel me? I'm gonna be tuned into that too. You
Yeah,
feel me? But that was
clearly.
incredible. Thank you very much
Yeah.
Yeah,
for that.
We
yeah.
appreciate the time, appreciate the vulnerability, and you know, it's great to talk to someone like you, because you know, we definitely can relate to each
Yeah,
other, and a lot of the things you said, I know me and Tony 100% relate to it. So very thankful for you hopping on with us today.
extremely thankful.
Yeah, it's
And
my
I can't
pleasure.
lie, I want a part two because I need to hear about this. You being a uh the uh the captain of the European League. What was it again?
Yeah, we got so much stuff.
from
The
FIFA.
CEO of the European Football League
Yeah,
or the football team.
yeah, that's a story in itself. I want to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If we can get you
So
back
many
on,
stories, bro.
we can talk
Yeah.
about
I
more
just got
NFL
to
Europe
start
stories.
ripping off stories, I guess.
We can make a second podcast called just the minor leagues because we was all in minor leagues.
Hey, on God, bro.
You
On
feel me?
God.
Just have a little segment
Oh my god.
because the stories that we have in the XFL are crazy too. They're unbelievable.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You know
Oh,
what I
it's
mean?
so good. It's so good. It's so good.
But
Anyway,
thank you.
I appreciate being on. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll be locked in and continue to support you along your journey and definitely share everything you got going on. So thankful for this relationship, my man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.
My life, all my life, I did it once, I do it twice. Only right, she by my side. Every time she in a bind, I got bread, I could slide. She feel safe, she feel alright. My kids ain't even born yet, and them babies set for life.